Hello, everyone. I'm Maryann, author, inspirational speaker, and district president at the International New Thought Alliance. Welcome to today's episode of Power, Perception, and You. This show is based upon the spiritual principles found in my second book. Here it is, The Peephole Effect, Perception is Everything. And you can order it on Amazon.com. And you can also order my first book, Journal Like God. It's also on Amazon.com. And I'm also offering one-on-one spiritual coaching sessions and speaking engagements at centers. So if you're interested in that, just send me a note, info@maryannpatalano.com. Okay, but enough about me, okay, because today it is my honor to let you know that my guest is the world-famous and amazing Edwene Gaines. And before I begin, and before I welcome Edwene, let me tell you a little bit about her, although you probably know a lot about her already, but I'd like to tell you some more. Okay, so Edwene Gaines is the author of the book, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, A Simple Guide to Unlimited Abundance. She is the owner and director of Rock Ridge Retreat Center in Valley Head, Alabama. She has made a 100% commitment to the transformation of the abundance consciousness of the world. An ordained Unity minister since 1979, she is also president of the Master School. She has trained approximately 500 Master Prosperity teachers. She travels extensively presenting prosperity workshops. And she has created and distributes CDs and affirmation cards through her company, Prosperity Products. And she has served as a member of the International New Thought Alliance Executive Board. She has received awards and honors from INTA, Unity Worldwide Ministries, Emerson Seminary, Centers for Spiritual Living, and the Holmes Institute, for being a tireless supporter of New Thought teachings, prosperity teachings, and inspiring others to recognize their divine inheritance. Now, Edwene also appears in the soon-to-be-released film, As a Man Thinketh, and that's going to be released in the fall. So, Edwene, after all that, I would like to welcome you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Maryann. I'm delighted to be with you today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for appearing on today's show. I know, that you're just an amazing spiritual being, and I share the sentiment of people all over the world just thanking you for the inspiration that you have offered to us. It's truly an honor for me to speak to you, and I know everyone is so thankful for you.
That's very kind.
Thank you. Okay, so Edwene, in your book, you recall how sort of the traditional religions tell us that we're made to suffer. In fact, we should expect to suffer, and that we should sort of accept suffering as our lot. And but you, however, in your book, I mean, you had different ideas. And can you just tell us about that and tell us about the truth about what God wants for us?
Yeah. Now, I want to be very clear. That does not mean that I haven't suffered, because I'm still suffering. But
Yes.
I've learned that all my suffering comes from my ego. And I think part of this process that we're learning in order to fully develop and demonstrate our own divine nature is that the ego wants us to stay just exactly the way we are now. And as we begin to grow and shift and change and become more loving and more lovable and kinder and with more compassion and more creative, then we come across that old thinking that says, who do you think you are? And so as a result, we create our own suffering. It's all self-created. And, most of it's self-created unconsciously. We don't do it, now I'm going to suffer. But there's a part of us that, any woman who's ever had a baby, for the most part, knows that you always feel wonderful while you're delivering your child.
Right.
And we're living this birth of this new self. And there are growing pains and there are labor pains. So, but we can choose to lift our thought above that and say, you know, I really believe that if you call everything that happens in your life good, it has to turn out, because your voice, your word has power.
Yes, there's the vibration to it. And,
Yes.
and I think when we look back, we do see that everything was for our good or was good, or we can label good, even at the time, if it appeared to be, quote, bad.
I know. And see, that's the key. You hit it right on the head, Maryann, is in the moment, if we can have the presence of mind to say, oh my God, I've been in situations where I've had to say, I can hardly wait to see what good comes out of this, you know, because it seems so awful at the moment. But what I say later on as I look back, oh my God, that's the only way I get to where I am now, is to have had that kind of a breakthrough.
Right, because it offers insight, experience, and also the fact that you survived it, something that you thought, well, right, and then you look back and you say, well, heck, I survived that, and then I can survive this, and I can survive this, and you even said at the beginning, like, you still suffer, and we all still suffer, like we still do, but I think the suffering gets less, or less duration, possibly, and we have that insight then that, yes, we will survive this, you know.
And, you know, Maryann, it seems, and I don't know just why this is so, but it seems to me that we all have a fear of the unknown. And we're all at the same time going into the unknown. And so every time we step boldly out of our comfort zone, attempt to do something we've never done before, then the fear comes up and the old voices say, you know, you're safe where you are, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. And so just stepping through is just an amazing thing to be able to do, to step through your fear and your limiting belief and to be that light of the world that you really are.
Yes, and earlier you had mentioned, like, it's the ego fears the change. So so right, so we get fearful about just about change, you know, or even fearful about a new idea for ourselves. Like, people could definitely get fearful about that. And then getting to, you know, to the prosperity and the fact that that it is good, since everything is good, there's nothing shameful about prosperity or material things necessarily. I know that in my coaching sessions and that sort of thing, and people often express a lot of shame about prosperity, and then we identify that as the limiting belief.
Yes.
That's responsible for it. So can you talk about that a little bit, like why there's shame and why we should not be ashamed of wealth?
Yeah. One of the frequent questions I get in workshops is, isn't this greedy to want all this stuff? Isn't this greedy? And I want something and I don't want you to have it. But greed is not if I want something and I want you to have everything you want too. That, I believe, is God's will for us. Because, see, there's no lack on this planet. There's enough fruit that falls off the trees every single day to feed this planet thousands of times over. There's no lack. There's more than enough to go around. And we are working on distribution. What we've learned at this stage is we're in charge of manifesting our desires. And so we do that with our thoughts and our feelings, our words and our actions. And we get busy then. You know, Ernest Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, you change your mind and you change your life. Those, oh, poor me, I'm a victim, nothing good ever happens to me, yamma, yamma, yamma kind of thoughts.
Right.
You know, that I'm God's beloved. And it is God's pleasure to give me the kingdom. And I desire to have my good, and I want everybody else to have their good too. Once you make that choice to do that for yourself, life shifts. It shifts in abundant ways.
Right. So it's not greed to say, I deserve it all because I'm a child of God, but you do too because you're a child of God.
Exactly. And to let go of any shame associated with it. See, the other shameful question that I get is, but what about all those people over there in other parts of the world or in my own community that are starving, and my suggestion is it's a whole lot easier to help them if you're rich than if you're poor.
Exactly.
So if you really want to help them, get rich and then help them. But don't just be poor. Being poor with them doesn't help them.
Right, that doesn't help at all. That just adds to a collective consciousness of lack, which is what we're trying to overcome, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Right, and I think that
process.
Yes, and I think so. To get over shame and blame, to get over shame is very important. But then also blame, like when people blame their circumstances for their circumstances, right? There's like a blame, and then that's part of their reason. I find a lot of people do that too. They look at circumstances and declare the power of circumstances over them, and then therefore they suffer under the circumstance. So that's another.
That's so true. So true. We've all in this day and age, in the New Thought circles at least, have heard we create our own reality. So if you're blaming someone else, you're giving your power away. You're saying somebody else has power over me, or some situation has power over me. And that's not the truth. The truth is the power is with you. And if you don't like what's going on in your life right now, change your stinking thinking.
Exactly. Because in New Thought, we know that circumstances really have no power because they're already created. Like they're already there. But if you believe they have power over you, then they will. But to just sort of rise above them, you have to raise your consciousness. You have to make a change in the thinking. And like you said, the stinking thinking, it has to stop. You have to stop that. And I think one of your core messages is that the main reason why and how we can declare something new for ourselves is because we are divine emanations of God, of Spirit. Yes. That's the reason. That's the backbone of the whole idea that, it doesn't make sense to say I'm a child of God, but I don't deserve this. No, right?
It's like claiming your true identity. Who am I really? Whatever you call yourself, that's what you'll demonstrate out in the world. So if you call yourself God's beloved, made in the image and likeness of the Most High, a divine emanation of Spirit, then that increases the power within your body, within the cells of your body, in your emotional nature to create peace and joy, and in your creativity to create wonderful projects for good in the world. But if you come from the space that everybody else is making me fail, or my mother did it to me, or my ex-husband, or my ex-wife, or my boss, blame is a way of making excuses for you not doing your work.
Exactly. So it's just important. It's just important to remember or to be conscious of if we're shaming and blaming ourselves or shaming and blaming others, and because that's a definite block.
I'm sorry. I'm so excited about this conversation. But one of the things that I teach in the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity is the power of forgiveness, because I find that nearly everyone that I work with, including myself, have old shames that we have not healed. And so part of that forgiveness is to come to realize that we always did the best we knew how to do. If we had known better, we would have done better. And to let go of that shame, childhood or young adulthood or something we said or did yesterday. We wouldn't do that again. Yeah? So we've changed already. We learned something from it.
Yes, forgiveness, because just like we were saying, everything is what we say or what we think is an energy, and unforgiveness of ourselves or others, once again, is a block. It's a very negative thing. And if we are to call ourselves children of God or a child of God, then, and we say God loves us unconditionally, which we know God does, then that means that we are forgiven. Meaning that we can forgive ourselves and others because we are forgiven ourselves,
So many times, Maryann, I had people who come to me and say, Edwene, I everybody else, but I cannot forgive myself. And I want to say to them, honey, what makes you so special?
Right.
Over
Yes.
yourself. You're
Yes.
welcome to the human race. We've all done stupid, ignorant, sometimes obnoxious things. We have to forgive ourselves. And here's my key. You have to do it every day. So one of the things I do every night before I go to sleep, I ask myself in prayer, have I put anyone outside my heart today? And usually I have. So I have to spend some time inviting them back in. I've noticed the only people I ever have to forgive are those people who don't do things my way. So I've learned from that. So I have to forgive myself for being so self-righteous and so judgmental and so know-it-all. And then I have to forgive them for not understanding what my rules are. And then I have to look and see what's going on there. And it's always the same issue for me. It's a control issue. I know how you ought to behave on it, so pray with me. But it's laughable how quickly I can make a judgment. I can watch TV and the politics for 5 minutes, and I've already judged 15 people. But I can forgive myself.
Right. Yeah. And what helps me, and what I tell people when they do struggle with forgiveness or forgiveness of others, and there's always that idea, well, we don't condone people's behavior necessarily, not in that case of judgmental, but like if they purposely hurt us or something, but just to recognize, part of forgiveness, just recognize no matter what they did, that they are unconditionally loved as well, and they are emanations of spirit, helps in forgiveness, and that's a part of forgiveness. Even if you can't on this lower level forgive them, you can recognize them as emanations of spirit.
Yes, they're doing the best they know how to do, just as we have. If they knew how to do better, they would. So part of it, I think, really is just recognizing our humaning it, and then letting it evolve into this higher self that we really are. Because that's what we're all about. It's spiritual evolution, moving the human into the divine. And the divine's already here, but we want to manifest it every day instead of just this human judgmental part of myself.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is a daily endeavor. Let's put it that way. Okay, so Edwene, I want to ask you about something that you wrote in your book. Now we know that there's nothing wrong with material things and money and prosperity, and but a lot of people are under the mistaken belief that wealth brings happiness. Mm-hmm. and you write about your own personal experience, wherein you had left your husband who was wealthy, and you literally explain in the book. You write. You tell us, I had to, you said, I had let go of the spiritual world and kind of drowned in all the luxury. Yes. And this is interesting. You write, my life became stale and stagnant. And you went on to leave with nothing but your car and your personal belongings. Now, Edwene, that is remarkable. And a lot of people, when they hear that, I'm sure they were thinking to themselves, I sure hope Edwene knows what she's doing. You know, it's you know what I mean?
I heard that.
Yes, and you probably even said it, but there was something inside of you apparently that said, just you write here that life had become stale and stagnant. So, some people could think that it's courageous to leave your husband, but you had something in you. Can you explain what exactly happened and how you had the faith? Obviously, you must have had faith that your source was not your husband. Your source was God.
Well, it happened to me while I was in ministerial school. And I came to realize that the man that I was married to, a very good man, but he was headed in a direction that I could not go. Was terribly unhappy, and he was unhappy with me because I could not go the way he wanted to go. And I did not want to spend my life doing the things that he wanted to do. I had this longing to know God to know the God in me, to serve God, to whatever that, I'm still probably don't. But I knew that I couldn't do it anymore. And if I stayed there, I would die. And my body started to get achy, and I was, started to get sick. And I realized I'm trying to make something work here that will not work. And I thought about it before I took off. But I took off with very, very little. I didn't take anything except the car and a few pieces of furniture and my daughter and her clothes, and went down the road, and I had $60. And I knew I had to keep my daughter in the same school. And I ran near her school, and I said, this is my situation. If I don't get out of this marriage, I'm going to die. I have $60. I cannot put a down payment. I can't even pay the first month's rent, but I have to have a place to live. And the woman said, do you have any furniture? I said, well, I could get a bed. She's come on outside. I got a pickup truck. And that woman in that apartment let me stay there until I could pay her. And it wasn't long before, because I wasn't working. I was in school. But money started to come to me, and I paid off every bit of it as I finished ministerial school. And it was a turning point in my life where I really realized I had every luxury you could imagine. A personal shopper, lived in a luxurious townhouse, drove a Cadillac, I had a 2-carat diamond ring. Everything that I wanted was at my fingertips. And I was bored silly. I knew life was more than this.
Right, and I think that speaks to the sort of lesson that a lot of people they do find that hard to believe, and unless you lived it, you wouldn't know. But they think, well, but the Cadillac, you're driving a Cadillac, like, you should be happy. Like, you live in a mansion, you should be happy. But the reality is something in you that meant nothing, and the material stuff is just already made stuff. It's just stuff if your heart or your somewhere else.
You can't live your life for stuff. You have to live your life for a higher purpose, I believe. And that higher purpose is written on. And if you stop and pay attention to it, and you go apart a while, and you spend time alone with the God of your understanding, you'll be called up into something much greater than you can even yet imagine. And that's what happened for me. I could not imagine that I would be doing what I'm doing right now at that time, but I knew if I did die. And so I got out.
Wow. That's powerful. So you lived, you walk your talk, and you've lived it. Like, you can write from a point of, and there's other times too where, you've had, when we're in sort of poverty situation, and look at you now, but you can really, really talk about this. You can really, it's the real deal. Like, this really happened, and it's really
empathize with people who are on the pathway. Not that I'm anywhere near the completion of the pathway, but when you first told me how scary it was to trust this inner guidance, when people would say, what the hell are you doing? Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing what I have to do. And there's that inner urge that says, if you're staying in a job that you hate, you're stealing somebody else's job. And if you're in a relationship where somebody doesn't cherish you, get out. If they belittled you once, or hit you once, or demeaned you once, they'll do it again. Get out. Love yourself enough to be you, the whole you, the best you can be. And there are a lot of relationships now that should have gone. And there are people still hanging on to old religious beliefs that don't serve them anymore. I don't believe
and they're suffering as a result.
Exactly. I believe in a loving God. And if I turn to that loving God and ask for guidance, I always get it. And sometimes it's not guidance that I want. Sometimes it says, okay, really? Do I really have to do that?
Exactly. So that's just that inner urge that, and that's great. And that's why you're so inspirational as well.
You have that inner urge to do all that you came to do. And it's stepping out on faith to do the things that you came to do, doing this wonderful show and all the speaking that you're doing. It's a powerful thing because you're doing it really by faith, trusting that inner guidance system. Yeah.
Yes, that is part of the mission. That's what I'm doing. Yes.
God will never let you down.
Oh, yes, I know. Thank you. Thank you. And everybody needs to, at times, they need to hear that. They, like that spirit or God will not let you down. Spirit's got your back, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
And
I
from
know,
that place in poverty, that place in poverty where I was, you know, that's been, oh gosh, it's been almost 40 years ago. Um, I've moved now to a place of what many people would call a space of great wealth. And I have a beautiful retreat center. I travel first class. I have no debt of any kind. I pay cash for my automobiles. I have a staff, and I speak all over the world. Last week in Virginia, next week, this coming weekend, I'll be in Apple Valley, California, at the Center for Spiritual Living. High Desert is the name of it. I've never been there. It should be fun.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, see, so I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, this is your calling, and anything is possible. I was going to ask you that too. Is the idea that anything is possible? What do you think about that? Because I believe that.
Absolutely true. As high as you can vision, that's nothing compared to the vision God has for your life. So you have to go to your highest vision, and then, ooh, there's another vision. And
You lift it up.
Yeah, it just keeps going. And at every step for me, I've had to step through my fear and my limiting belief again to say, ooh, can I do this? Can I really do this? And you just say yes. I say, yeah, okay, God, you're in charge. Lead me on. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a faith builder, because then you see, yeah, God did see me through that, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. So, Edwene, we're actually almost out of time, and we have a few minutes left. So, I want to give you the opportunity. You mentioned a little bit, but just to tell people about your latest projects and how they can connect with you.
I have a retreat center in North Alabama called Rock Ridge Retreat Center. I'm on the web at prosperityproducts.com. And that has my speaking and my retreat schedule. My next retreat is full and has waiting lists, but the next one that's open is in November, and it's entitled How to Be a World Server. And people come from all over the world to come to our retreats. They're all listed on my webpage at prosperityproducts.com. And the workshops that I do at churches are always offered on a love offering basis. So if you're in the area, I'll be in California, and then I'll be in Nashville and Austin, El Paso, and the Houston area. And I have my book, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, is also in Spanish as well as on audio. I have lots of CDs and affirmation cards, and to have people come to our retreats. They're very inexpensive. It's only $135 for 3 days, and you still have to get your lodging. Lodging's listed on the webpage. So I love what I do, and we have a really good time here.
Wow, wow. Thank you for sharing that. And so everybody check it out. It's amazing work that Edwene is doing. And I know that everyone is just so grateful for you and your work and the difference that you're making in lives. It's amazing. So Edwene, I just want to thank you. I want to just thank you from the bottom of my heart for appearing on the show today. And
Let me just mention, my retreat center is in the northeast part of Alabama, about 40 miles south of Chattanooga, because Valley Head is a little tiny town. It's probably not on most people's maps, but you can go on our webpage and see directions. But thank you for letting me promote that. I appreciate it. My retreat center is gorgeous, 30 acres of forest and creeks and labyrinths and crystal baths and bedtar systems. And
oh my gosh. Sounds amazing. I'm going to go check it out. Yeah, that's amazing. All right. So thank you. And everyone, you can check out my website, MaryannPadalano.com, for more information about me and what I'm doing. And I just thank you all. And thank you, Edwene. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.